This is Autohaus Hamilton. I'm James. I'm here to talk to you about car parts. If you run a pre-964 911, instead of springs, your car uses torsion bars to provide springing. Linking the torsion bar to the body on one side and to the trailing arm on the other are what we call spring plates. This is a spring plate, and these rubber bits at the end of the spring plate are spring plate bushers. Now, over time, those spring plate bushers wear and sag. As a result, your car's suspension suffers. It becomes difficult to set up the suspension correctly, and the suspension system needs to cater for the uncontrolled movement around that sagged spring plate bush. Now, if you bring your car into us, and your car is a long wheelbase 911 but doesn't run a G50, in other words, you're running a 901 transmission or a 915 transmission, we will replace your spring plates with these. The reason we'll do that is that replacing the spring plate is a more economical option than removing the old bushers and replacing them. If you want to do that, we can do it for you, or you can do it yourself, but it takes a lot longer than replacing the spring plates in their entirety. The other thing is on a pre-1977 car, the spring plates weren't adjustable. That's important because being able to adjust the spring plates lets you set the corner weighting perfectly and lets you get the ride height set perfectly. You can do it without an adjustable spring plate, but it's a more complicated procedure, and it involves moving the torsion bars on their splines either at the body end or on the spring plate end in order to get the ride height set just the way you want it. The other option is, if you don't want the standard spring plate bushers, you can have what we refer to as a Brazilian spring plate. This is a Brazilian spring plate. It's not made in Brazil, but it doesn't have bushers. That means you can use your own bushers. We can supply you with no-lethane bushers, which are a lot firmer than the standard suspension bushers, or we can provide you with a halfway house with a rubber spring plate bush that is a little bit firmer than the standard one, but not as hard as the no-lethane bush. So far I've talked about adjustable spring plates, but what I haven't done is to show you how they're adjusted. So the two key elements are, firstly, that there are two parts to the spring plate that can move relative to one another. I've removed the nuts that fasten these two bolts that hold the two parts of the spring plate together. There's an index mark and adjustment marks on the rearward and the frontward part of the spring plate respectively, so we can keep track of exactly how it's adjusted. And the other key to the adjustment mechanism is that the rearward bolt is on an eccentric. So by changing the position of that bolt, we change the position of the two halves of the spring plate relative to one another. The eccentric fits in a recess on the back of the spring plate. So once everything is tightened up, the two halves of the spring plate can no longer move relative to one another, and the adjustment stays exactly as intended. As ever, thanks very much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to contact us either through the comments on this video, or drop us an email, give us a phone call. Any way you like, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much for watching.